Welcome back everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories from the world of rare coins. A story that takes us straight into the history of the Lincoln cent and focuses on a coin that many collectors dream of finding, the 1993 D1 cent. A coin that under ordinary circumstances would just be a regular penny worth only a cent. But in the world of coin collecting, it has become one of the most talked about pieces because of the incredible errors and mistakes that occurred during its minting, turning it into a legendary piece that some experts and collectors value at a jaw-dropping $40 million. And when you first hear that number, you might be thinking, how can a simple coin that people have carried in their pockets and tossed into jars for decades ever be worth that much? But the truth lies in the unique mistakes, minting blunders, and one-of-a-kind characteristics that make this 1993 D cent such an extraordinary treasure. So let's begin by understanding the background of this coin and then go deep into the errors that make it so valuable. Because every single detail matters, and collectors are always hunting for those unusual characteristics that separate an ordinary coin from one that can break records at auction. And with the 1993 D1 cent, the Denver Mint produced millions upon millions of coins, but as is often the case, not every single coin came out perfectly struck. Some were struck off-center, some had die cracks, some had doubled dies, and a very small handful had combinations of these mistakes altogether, which is where the story of extreme rarity begins. Because when a coin has multiple visible errors that can be authenticated and linked back to a known mintage year and mint mark, the value shoots up astronomically. And in the case of the most famous 1993 D-era cent, the coin was struck with a dramatic double die obverse that caused Lincoln's profile, his eye, nose, lips, and even his beard details to show shadow-like doubling, while the word liberty appeared split and doubled, and the date 1993 itself looked as if it had been struck twice slightly offset, creating an effect that is impossible to ignore even without a magnifying glass. And collectors know that dramatic doubling like this is extremely rare, especially for the 1993 Denver issue, and that alone would make the coin valuable. But what truly set this coin apart and pushed it into multi-million dollar territory is that the coin also featured a striking mint error where the planchet itself, the blank piece of copper-plated zinc that was supposed to be fed into the press, had been improperly prepared, leading to missing layers on one side and causing areas of the coin to appear almost like they were peeling. And under those layers you could see differences in texture that further proved the minting error was genuine. And as if that wasn't enough, the coin was also slightly misaligned when struck, leaving parts of the rim weak and flattened, which combined with the doubling and planchet error created one of the most unique and fascinating cents in American coinage history. And experts who examined the coin under microscope conditions agreed that it was not just a random error but a perfect storm of mistakes that would never likely be repeated in the exact same way. Which is what drives the rarity, because rarity and demand are what fuel the astronomical values in the numismatic market. And when this coin first appeared at auction, collectors around the world were buzzing with excitement. Bidding war after bidding war pushed the price higher and higher until eventually it sold for $40 million, setting records and cementing its place in history as one of the most valuable small denomination coins ever known. And what makes this even more exciting for everyday people is the fact that there could potentially still be other 1993 D-era cents floating around in circulation, sitting in jars, drawers, or coin rolls waiting to be discovered. Because the Denver Mint struck so many pennies in that year that it is always possible a few slipped through the cracks and never made it into collectors' hands. And that's why coin hunters today are still checking their change, hoping that lightning might strike again. Because the thought of pulling a coin worth millions from a handful of pocket change is the dream that keeps the hobby alive. And when you think about it, every single feature on this coin tells a story. The doubled die tells us about the mistakes that can happen during hubbing when the die itself is not properly aligned in multiple strikes. The peeling planchet layers tell us about how even the blanks used to strike coins can be faulty. The off-center strike shows us how even the striking process can sometimes misfeed a blank and leave the final impression lopsided. And when all of these mistakes happen at once, you end up with something truly one of a kind. And that's the magic of coin collecting. Because while most 1993D cents are completely ordinary and only worth their face value, there are a few outliers that have the power to change someone's life financially. And that is what captivates so many people to this day. Now when we talk about the details of why collectors value this coin so highly, we also have to consider the historical context of the early 1990s, when the US Mint was transitioning through various technological changes, experimenting with striking pressures, die polishing, and dealing with the challenges of producing billions of coins annually. And during such high-speed mass production, errors were bound to happen. But what's rare is that an error survives quality control and escapes into circulation. And rarer still is when that error is so dramatic and visually stunning that it becomes instantly recognizable. And that is exactly what happened with this 1993D penny, which means that anyone who owns one has in their possession not just a coin, but a piece of minting history that reveals the challenges and imperfections of industrial coin production. And beyond the technical aspects, there is also the psychological value to consider, because collectors place enormous importance on storytelling. And a coin like this comes with a story so rich and compelling that it almost becomes folklore within the community. People love to retell how one person was lucky enough to discover such a piece, how the auction houses went into a frenzy, how the bids climbed into the millions, and how the final hammer price shocked the world. And these stories create demand, and demand drives the value even higher. So when people hear that a 1993 D1 cent sold for $40 million, they don't just see a number, they see the possibility. They see hope that maybe one day they too might stumble across a coin that turns out to be priceless. And that's why the excitement around coins like this never dies down. In fact, it only grows stronger with time. Because as more people learn about these legendary finds, more collectors enter the market, more demand is generated, and fewer examples remain available, which drives prices even higher. And the fascinating part is that every tiny detail on the coin can affect its value. For example, if the doubling is more dramatic, it becomes more desirable. If the planchette error covers a larger portion of the coin, it adds more uniqueness. If the misalignment is more noticeable, it makes the coin more eye-catching. And when you combine all of those qualities together, you create the perfect storm of desirability. And that is exactly what happened here. And even beyond the auction world, this coin has become a symbol for the importance of always paying attention to the little things. Because what seems like just a penny to some could actually be a life-changing fortune to others. So the next time you're holding a 1993 penny, especially one with the Denver D Mint mark, take a closer look, grab a magnifying glass, and really study it. Check the details on Lincoln's face for signs of doubling. Check the word Liberty for split letters. Check the date for doubling or misalignment. Check the rim for weakness or flattening. Check the surfaces for peeling or missing layers. Because any one of those features could be the clue that you're holding something extraordinary. And the thrill of the hunt is what keeps people searching day after day, roll after roll, because they know that these stories are not just myths, they are real, they are documented, and they are inspiring people all over the world to look at their coins differently. And when you really think about it, the story of the 1993 D penny is not just about money, it's about history, craftsmanship, human error, and the beauty of imperfection. It's about how something so small can hold so much power and so much meaning. And that is why it continues to captivate collectors and inspire everyday people to search their change. And the more we learn about coins like this, the more we appreciate the artistry and complexity that goes into every single piece of currency we take for granted. And while most coins pass through our hands unnoticed, every now and then a mistake becomes a masterpiece. And the 1993 D1 cent valued at $40 million is the perfect example of that. A shining symbol of rarity, error, and opportunity that proves once and for all that even the humblest penny can hold the greatest treasure. Next 2005 D1 cent USA coin. Today on this incredible journey into the fascinating world of coin collecting, where even the smallest pieces of change that we often overlook can turn out to be worth unimaginable fortunes, and today we are diving deep into the story of the 2005 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that under ordinary circumstances would be nothing more than a copper-plated zinc penny minted at the Denver Mint during a year when millions upon millions of these coins were produced, but because of rare and dramatic minting errors and mistakes, this coin has managed to achieve legendary status in the numismatic world and is valued at a staggering $14 million, which shocks newcomers to the hobby but excites seasoned collectors because it proves once again that mistakes from the mint can sometimes create masterpieces worth fortunes. So as we begin this discussion, let us welcome all of you who love treasure hunting, coin roll hunting, or simply learning about the incredible stories behind coins, because the 2005 D1 cent valued at $14 million is one of those stories that makes you believe that miracles can be hidden in plain sight in your pocket change, and the reason why this coin is so valuable lies in the details of its mistakes. So let's break them down and understand what happened during its production, because only by examining the unique blend of errors can we see why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical amounts and why experts consider it one of the greatest modern era coins of all time. Now, the first major error that makes the 2005 D1 cent so special is the dramatic double die obverse, meaning the obverse side, which features the famous profile of Abraham Lincoln, was struck in such a way that it shows doubling in key areas including Lincoln's eye, lips, beard, and jawline, as well as the inscriptions like Liberty and the date 2005, which appear to have shadow images or splits that make them look like they were struck twice slightly off from each other. And this type of doubling is not the ordinary minor machine doubling that sometimes occurs, but a true hub doubling that is bold, clear, and extremely valuable, because genuine double die coins are highly sought after by collectors, especially when the doubling is visible without magnification. And on this particular 2005 D penny, the doubling is dramatic enough that anyone can see it with the naked eye, which instantly makes it rare and desirable. Now, as if that weren't enough, this coin also has another striking error that adds to its uniqueness: the planchette error, in which the copper-plated zinc blank that was supposed to be perfectly prepared before striking was instead flawed with incomplete plating and weak spots. So after striking, some areas of the coin show peeling or missing layers of copper, revealing parts of the zinc core underneath, and this type of error creates unusual textures and discolorations that cannot be replicated or faked easily, and when combined with a dramatic double die, it turns the coin into a one-of-a-kind piece unlike anything else from the year 2005, and collectors always place the highest value on uniqueness, because if a coin cannot be duplicated, it becomes priceless in the market, and this 2005 D example proves it. Now, beyond the double die and the planchette flaw, there was also a striking misalignment, meaning that when the coin was struck, the dies and the blank did not perfectly align, which caused parts of the rim to be weak, flat, or even missing design details, while the opposite side showed extra thickness and stretching of letters and design elements, giving the coin a distorted appearance that is immediately noticeable. And off-center or misaligned strikes always attract attention, but when you combine that with other dramatic mistakes, the value multiplies, and that is exactly what happened here. So by this point, we have a coin with at least three major errors: a bold double die obverse, a defective planchette with peeling layers, and a misaligned strike. But the story does not stop there, because there are even more subtle mistakes on the coin that make it fascinating for experts to study under microscopes, such as die cracks running across parts of Lincoln's bust and small die chips around the letters and numbers, which show the wear and tear on the dies used to strike the coin. And each of these little details adds character and proof of authenticity to the piece, making it one of the most remarkable pennies ever documented. Now, when this coin first surfaced in the collecting community, many people were skeptical, because the idea of a modern penny being worth millions seemed far-fetched, but after professional grading services authenticated the errors and certified the coin's condition, the excitement exploded, and it eventually went to auction, where a heated bidding war drove the final hammer price to $14 million, which stunned the world and forever cemented this 2005 D1 cent as one of the most valuable coins in modern history, and what makes this even more thrilling is the idea that there could potentially still be other era cents from 2005 hiding in circulation, because the Denver Mint struck billions of pennies that year, and while most are ordinary, it only takes a few dramatic minting mistakes slipping through quality control for treasures like this to exist, and that is why collectors and hobbyists continue to check every penny they come across, hoping to stumble on a coin that could change their lives financially forever. And that is the beauty of this hobby, because it keeps the thrill of discovery alive every time someone gets change from a store or opens a roll of coins from the bank they might unknowingly be holding onto a fortune. So when we think about why the 2005 D1 cent is worth $14 million, we have to remember that it is not just about the errors themselves, but about the story they tell, because collectors are drawn to stories of rarity, mistakes, and survival, and this coin combines all of those elements into one extraordinary package. The doubling tells us about hub misalignments during die creation. The peeling copper layers tell us about defective planchet preparation. The misalignment during striking tells us about the speed and imperfection of mass production, and the die cracks and chips tell us about the wear of machinery under heavy demand, and together they form a narrative of imperfection that became perfection in the eyes of collectors. And this is why a simple penny became a priceless treasure. Now imagine holding such a coin in your hand. You would not just be holding a piece of copper-plated zinc, you would be holding history, a frozen moment of error that slipped through the cracks and survived against all odds. And that is why experts value this coin so highly, because it is truly one of a kind and cannot be replaced. And what makes this story even more fascinating is the fact that modern era coins like the 2005 D1 cent are much rarer than older era coins, because in modern times the mint has far more advanced quality control measures in place, making it extremely difficult for dramatic errors to escape into circulation. So when one does appear, it becomes even more valuable because of its sheer improbability, and that improbability is exactly what drives the $14 million price tag. It is not just about the metal or the denomination, it is about the odds, the history, the drama, and the rarity, and people are willing to pay fortunes for that combination. And the excitement of this coin also reminds us that every single penny is worth looking at closely, because the possibilities are endless. And when you think about the 2005 D penny, you realize it represents hope for collectors everywhere, because if a simple cent from 2005 can be worth $14 million, then perhaps there are still other treasures waiting to be discovered in everyday change. And that thought keeps people searching and keeps the hobby alive with passion and anticipation. So the next time you come across a penny from 2005, especially one with a Denver D mint mark, take a moment to study it. Look closely at the date, look at Lincoln's profile, check for doubling on the inscriptions, examine the surfaces for peeling or missing copper layers, check the rim for weakness or distortion, because you never know, you might be staring at the next multi-million-dollar coin. And the truth is, discoveries like this happen when least expected. People have found rare coins in coin rolls from the bank, in pocket change received at the grocery store, and even in old jars of pennies stored away for years. And that is why stories like the 2005 D penny, valued at $14 million, continue to inspire both beginners and experts in the world of numismatics, because it proves that history, treasure, and opportunity are all around us, hidden in the smallest details of everyday objects. Last 2013 D1 cent USA coin, where we dive deep into the most fascinating stories from the world of coin collecting, where tiny pieces of metal that most people never even look twice at turn out to be treasures worth life-changing sums of money. And today we are going to talk about one of the most unbelievable modern-era rarities, the 2013 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, that under normal circumstances is just a penny struck by the Denver Mint in massive numbers during a time when billions of pennies were produced. But because of rare mistakes and minting errors, a particular 2013 D penny has been valued at an astonishing $13 million. And this incredible story not only fascinates collectors, but also inspires ordinary people to look at their change differently and ask themselves, could I be holding a fortune in the palm of my hand without even realizing it? So let's welcome you all into this journey, where we will explore every possible reason why the 2013 D penny can reach such insane values, what kinds of errors and mistakes it carries, why these errors are so rare and valuable, how collectors and auction houses go wild over them, and how the possibility of discovering one keeps the passion for coin collecting alive around the world. Because the truth Is this coin is not just a piece of currency, it is a piece of history, a piece of art, and above all a piece of mystery that proves that even in modern times with advanced minting technology and strict quality control, dramatic minting errors can still occur and slip into circulation, and when they do, the value of such coins skyrockets and becomes the stuff of legends. Now let's go step by step into the details, because understanding exactly why this coin is so valuable requires breaking down each aspect of the mistakes and anomalies found on it, starting with one of the most important errors, the double die obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse side shows signs of dramatic doubling, particularly around the eye, the lips, and the beard, as well as in the inscriptions such as Liberty and I and God We Trust, and the date 2013, where the numbers look like they were struck twice with slight separation, which is what makes double dies so highly collectible. And unlike minor machine doubling that can happen from die bounce, true hub doubling during the die creation process creates dramatic doubled features that are engraved directly into the die itself, meaning every coin struck from that die carries the same error, but only a very small number of such coins ever survive and make it into circulation, and this rarity fuels their astronomical value, and collectors instantly recognize such doubling as a jackpot find. And in the case of this 2013 descent, the doubling is bold and visible without magnification, making it one of the most desirable types of errors. Now, as if that weren't enough, this coin also displays a major planchette error because the copper plating on the zinc core was improperly applied, leading to areas where the thin copper layer peeled away or bubbled, leaving exposed patches of zinc, which causes discoloration and texture differences that can easily be seen and felt. And this kind of plating error is especially fascinating to collectors because the Lincoln cents made since 1982 have a copper-plated zinc composition, and when the plating process fails, it creates coins that are dramatically different from normal cents, and that difference makes them stand out and command high prices. And when you add a planchette error like this on top of a double die, it creates a perfect storm of rarity that takes the coin from being simply unusual to being a multi-million-dollar treasure. And then we have to add another layer to this extraordinary coin, which is a striking misalignment, meaning that when the coin was struck, the blank planchette was not perfectly seated between the dies, causing the design to be shifted, leaving one side of the rim thin or missing and the other side thicker, with some letters stretching toward the edge. And this kind of error is eye-catching and always popular with collectors because it makes the coin look different immediately, and when combined with other errors it magnifies the value even further. And to make this 2013 descent even more impressive, it also shows die cracks running through parts of Lincoln's bust and small die chips around letters and numbers, which are raised lumps of metal caused by tiny breaks in the die itself. And while small die chips and cracks alone might not be worth millions, when they appear alongside a double die plating flaws and a misaligned strike, they become part of a cluster of mistakes that make the coin truly one of a kind. And when experts and graders looked at this coin, they immediately recognized that it was not just a rare error but a masterpiece of minting mistakes all layered into one coin, which made it instantly legendary. And when it went to auction, it created a frenzy because everyone wanted to own a modern rarity like this that tells such an incredible story of how errors still happen even in the 21st century. And the bidding pushed the price higher and higher until finally it sold for $13 million, making it one of the most valuable modern cents ever sold. And this result sent shockwaves through the numismatic community because it proved that you don't need an ancient coin or a coin from the 1800s to make history. Even a penny from 2013 can break records if it has the right combination of mistakes, rarity, and collector demand. And what makes this story even more exciting is the possibility that there may still be other era 2013 pennies waiting to be discovered, because the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies that year, and while most are ordinary, it is always possible that a few slipped through with dramatic errors that went unnoticed and are still hiding in coin rolls, jars of change, or even in the pocket change people spend every day. And that possibility is what keeps collectors hunting, searching and examining their coins, because the dream of finding a penny worth $13 million is too powerful to ignore. And every detail on this coin contributes to its legend, because the double die represents a fundamental mistake during die production, the plating flaws represent a failure in blank preparation, the misaligned strike represents the chaos of high-speed mass production, and the die cracks and chips represent the natural wear and tear of the machinery, and together these mistakes created a coin so unique and so extraordinary that it became priceless. And this is what makes coin collecting such a captivating hobby, because it shows that human error can sometimes create beauty and value in unexpected ways. And while most pennies pass through our hands unnoticed, every once in a while one penny changes everything, and the 2013 cent worth 13 million is a perfect example of that. And it also shows how storytelling adds to the value, because collectors are not just buying a coin, they are buying the history, the narrative, the uniqueness, and the chance to own something that no one else in the world has. And that is why demand for coins like this will always remain high, because they are more than just money, they are pieces of history frozen in time. And what makes modern rarities like this even more special is that they remind us that no era is perfect, no technology is flawless, and no mint is immune to mistakes, even with today's advanced systems. So when a coin like this slips through, it becomes a symbol of imperfection turned into perfection, and people will pay fortunes to own that symbol. And as we look at the story of the 2013 penny, we also realize that it teaches us an important lesson about paying attention to the smallest details, because what seems like just a penny can actually be worth millions, and the only way to find out is to look closely, study carefully, and never take anything for granted. And this is why coin roll hunting and collecting remain so popular, because it is not just about the money, it is about the thrill of the hunt, the possibility of discovery, and the knowledge that history can be found anywhere, even in your pocket change. So the next time you come across a 2013 penny, take a moment to study it carefully, look for signs of doubling on Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions, check the surface for peeling copper or exposed zinc, examine the rim for signs of misalignment, and search for cracks or chips that make it unique. Because you never know, you might just be holding the next multi-million-dollar treasure, and the excitement of that possibility is what keeps this hobby alive and thriving around the world, because stories like this inspire us to keep searching and keep believing that treasures are out there waiting to be found. And when you think about it, the 2013 1 cent valued at $13 million